What's up, everybody? Back with another episode of the Buck Junkies Podcast. Season 3. Is that what it is, Mark?
I think. Season 10.
Episode 2, Season 3. We are still working on our sound and audio or video here, so
we thought this was going to be an easy transition.
I thought coming to the smokehouse, would be easy for podcast just because we're down here at the hunting land, but hey, you know.
I can tell you what. This one got the best AC I've been in.
It's good and cold.
You have to wear hunting clothes and when it's 105 degrees.
I told him to put the big one in this house.
It's in it.
It's in it. It's cold.
We could hang meat.
What else? Anything else that you've noticed different about being down here doing a podcast?
Just, being close to the action.
I think this, like, once we get to fall, wintertime, it's going to get better. Yeah, man, especially the hunting season rolls around.
It's so damn hot outside this week.
Yeah, this is supposed to be like no heat, just regular temperature, like 102, 103.
Well, they say Jackson was fishing to break the record in Mississippi. Like they're claiming like 110 to 115, like regular temperature, not heat index.
It's sitting here for a week. I look ahead to next week because, it never fails dove season. Cold front will come through. It ain't coming this year.
It ain't happening this year.
It ain't coming this year. It's going to be hot.
It's going to be a cold front for me.
You're going to Indiana. They have dove season up there Labor Day?
Oh, I'm taking a shotgun because it's cornfield where we're parking at.
Yeah.
Mark's carrying his
might have a better shoot up there than we do down here.
Your ghetto gun.
Yeah, I will. No, I got my ghetto gun fixed. It looks good now.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Ghetto gun. Yeah.
So you found a deal.
So we talked about it last season. I found a deal on a Super Black Eagle 1 when we was in Michigan at that trade show. Yeah. And like I had no intention of buying this gun. We went up there and looked and I seen it and I was like, if that's a Super Black Eagle 1, I'll buy it. And the guy's like, man, I'll take $600.
Pretty much Mark opened his mouth first before he
well, no, I've always wanted one of the guns. Like I've been on the hunt for a 1 or 2 forever. And I said, if that's a 1, I'll buy it. He come back, he's like, man, I think he told me $600 first time. Well, the barrel was all jacked up. It was cut off. It was like 18 inches long. So, and we'd done all the research and it was cut off. I know last time I think we talked about it, we were like, we couldn't decide because the cover up on the barrel was pretty good. It looked factory. But anyway, so I got a barrel and I dropped it off and guys was going to do some work on it, clean it up and get it Cerakoted. And it was no fault of theirs.
The gunsmith guys.
Yeah, he done a dang good job. The Cerakote job was good. Of course, you're picking out Cerakote color. You just got like a 1 inch by 1 inch color swatch. It's not a lot. And I wanted like a burnt bronze. So that's what I found was a burnt bronze.
Kind of like that Hell's Canyon Browning look.
Well, yeah.
Well, when you do the whole gun, it pretty much looked like it come out of the 007 movie, Goldfinger, like it was a gold gun.
Mark's going to get you some teeth to match it.
Yes. It was not what it was supposed to be. And it was not their fault. It was mine. It was the color I picked. I mean, it was identical. So
it was definitely a lot of more
bronze, more bronze and gold.
It was more gold than
bronze.
Yeah.
The color swatch label was incorrect. Yeah. But anyway, so I took it home and
that's the Eagle version.
Yeah. I looked at a couple of different options. Ended up, I pulled the stocks off. I left the receiver and barrel Cerakoted that color, and they look fine. Like it's fine. It's just the stocks. It's so much color on one place. So I took some black Krylon, sprayed the stocks black, and then ordered me some fishnet pantyhose. Pulled over the stocks and sprayed I guess that was considered a burnt bronze in, and it's just a little. It almost kind of looks like I looked at a bunch of different guns in the Benelli shop, the custom shop, how they do like the carbon fiber stocks and then the Cerakote barrel. That's kind of what it looks like. Now it looks light years better.
100% better.
But, so is it a 1 barrel or is it
it's a 2 barrel.
So you got a Super Black Eagle 1.5.
Yeah, 1.5.
Yeah, 1.5.
Because I think I was on back order for that barrel for 6 months at least. So I guess they discontinued the Super Black. Like a lot of those parts are getting harder and harder to get. So I ended up getting a Super Black Eagle 2 barrel and then put a Super Black Eagle 2 forearm on it because the forearms are a little different for the barrel and got it all done. And like I say, I like it. I mean, I got out there and shot it. It's tight right now. It's got all these springs in it. Everything on the guns we went through is pretty much brand new. So I've been shooting some heavy loads through it, trying to kind of get the springs broke in and seated. And
have you put it on paper to see where it's
put it on paper yet? But we're going to get it set, and it feels pretty good. And as far as like just putting it on your shoulder, it all looks like it's pretty dang close. Feels good. Line of sight looks good, but I have not put it on paper.
So this going to be a gun you're going to take hunting, or is it
It's going to be it's a 3.5 inch gun. That's going to be my duck gun this year.
There you go.
And I think I'm going to send, I got an M2 that I usually hunted with. It's just a 3-inch gun. I think I'm going to send it to Rob Roberts and let them go through it. And that'll kind of be like the lighter load gun. You know, if we go trap shooting or something like that, or if we go shoot skeet somewhere, dove hunt or whatever, I'll take it. Cause my wife has pretty much confiscated my 20 gauge. That's what she shoots. So it's been fun though. We shot more shotguns this year than we have in a long time. So
it's a lot of fun.
it looks a lot better now though. It's no longer the Goldfinger. That's for sure.
The Goldfinger. That's what we're going to call it though.
I brought it in. It was bad. It was real bad.
I was trying not to hurt Mark's feelings. He brought it in.
Oh, my feelings are already hurt.
He brought it in and said, look at my gun. I'm like, wow.
It's gold.
It's gold. It's supposed to be bronze.
Yeah.
Now we burned our dove field last week. That's what I figured we'd talk about first today. Kind of catching up on what we're doing here. But Mikey, we had our wheat field that was played out, I guess. And
Wheat field played out, sprayed it, killed any kind of grass or weeds or anything. So we got a good burn on the whole entire field. Because if you leave a lot of that green in there, sometimes it'll kind of choke the fire down, and it may burn through it, it may not burn through it. But we wanted to get a good burn on it and clean it off slick, and so we sprayed it. And when we got through the podcast last week, we went out there and got our drip torches ready. And
so let's talk about, we got a wheat field that we're ready to burn to get ready for dove season. What is our steps we're going to do? What tools we're going to need? And what do we do?
Well, I mean, our first thing, of course, we already sprayed the field and got it, deleted or killed out, which the wheat had already died, so it was dried. But we went ahead and sprayed just to make sure all those weeds were killed out. And then had Jamie go around the field, and we cut a barrier around the field, to contain the fire. So we went probably 20, 30 feet wide with a kind of a area to keep the fire from jumping across.
Basically a fire lane, basically.
Yeah, fire lane. I was looking for the word. I couldn't
Buffer or something.
Yeah.
So, but we had been doing that for probably a month, right?
Yeah. But we still utilize that fire lane on our field. With us doing that, 30 feet around the outside, that gives us the opportunity to go back in. We can sow that with wheat.
Yep. That
fire lane, but it also acts as a barrier for the fire. So once we got that done, we load our drip torches up. It's like
4 to 1. I think
4 and 1. You can do it 3-1, 4-1, 5-1.
So what's a drip torch?
So a drip torch is a little canister, a fuel canister, and it has this spigot that comes out the top. It's got a screen in the bottom of it, but it's got the spigot that sticks out the top, and it kind of swirls around to keep the fuel or the fire from going back in the nozzle. And then on the end of the nozzle, it's got like a little drip for the fuel to come out, and you light the little candle, the wick on.
It's kind of like a wick on the end.
Yeah.
It'll stay burning because it gets soaked with the diesel.
The wick's soaked because you turn it upside down and put it back in the canister. So when you pull it out, it's got fuel on it. So once you light it, as you tilt it forward, it re-wets the wick and it ignites the other fuel that comes out the end of it. So it just kind of drops. If you ever as a kid, if you ever got a Coke bottle on the end of a stick and lit it and it just kind of drips plastic, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, don't shoot a flame out like a flame.
You open the bleeder valve up on it.
Well, I was going to say, if you open the bleeder valve, it'd probably shoot a stream 3 or 4 feet, if you wanted it to. But it's got a little vent on the back, kind of like your gas cans, and you choke it. You just open it like a quarter of a turn where it just kind of drips out.
And you're just dropping fire basically where you want it.
The first thing you're going to figure out is where the wind's coming from. We're going to start lighting what they call a backing fire. So if the wind's coming out of the north, we're going to light the fire on the south side of the field. So we started lighting on the south side of the field. That fire kind of burns real slow back away from our fire line.
Into the wind. And as it goes, if you want to speed it up, you can walk out there and you can run what they call a strip fire, walk in front of you, fire 20 or 30 yards, drop it where it's in the wind, and it'll run back and catch, that other fire coming back to you. But you want to burn it back away from your fire lane and get it back away. That way none of your stuff gets out, none of your embers get out. What that's going to do basically as it comes together, it's going to put itself out because it's done burned all the dry vegetation.
Yeah. So we lit it. I started burning kind of around the edge of the property line where we were close to a property line. We were about 50 yards off of one property line going on a neighbor. So
I lit it down there just to make sure that, we burned that back, got that away from there. Mark started lighting on the south end. The wind was kind of coming out of the northwest, something like that day. And so he started lighting on the south end and lit back around. And as we made the field around and the fire come down, we started lighting into the wind. And once you light it into the wind, it takes off.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gone. That's where it'll get away from you. If you start lighting that fire into the wind, it's going to consume that fuel really fast. That fire gets air to it really hard, and it starts picking up. It'll get up flames, get up over your head, and it's gone.
So like how we burnt back into the wind, that gave you another buffer between that,
right?
And the fire lane.
Yeah.
There wasn't
nothing else to burn.
Yeah. It
went smooth.
Yeah, it went real quick, real smooth.
We look like pros.
No fire department. No good.
Yeah, no.
Me and Mark was listening. We thought we heard a siren or two coming, but
neighbors were burning the burn piles. So
yeah, we blame it on them.
That wasn't us.
I will say drip torches made all the difference in the world. From us trying to do it last year to this year and having those. And then, even the fire flash waters, whatever you want to call them, like those. We had some rigged up stuff last year, because we were learning as we went, but.
So the drip torch, what do they cost? It
was $100-something
I know they're not
torch.
cheap.
Yeah, I bought them off
efficient.
ForestrySuppliers.com, I think is where it was. I bought them. Ball just told us where to buy all that stuff.
But they're not like a little cheap.
No,
solid aluminum can, and it's a well built. You'll have them forever.
They had some on Amazon. I want to say they're about $150 a piece or something like that. And they probably hold, what would you say? Is that gallon and a half, 2 gallons tops of fuel?
Probably 2 gallons.
And we had 2 of them, and you mixed it about 4 to 1, something like that, or 3 to 1.
4 to 1. So I was measuring out 16 ounces of fuel. And I put 3 16-ounce, diesel in there, and then put 1 gas in there.
Regular gas.
And then I kind of looked at it, see it wasn't all the way full, so I put a little more diesel in there. So we were about 4 to 1.
Yeah, but it burned good.
Yeah. And our field what was that field? About 2.5 acres, maybe tops. Like it's not huge, and it probably burned. What would y'all guess out of each can?
Maybe a quarter to half a gallon. If
there's still plenty.
You could do that 4 or 5 times over and never even run that can out.
Yeah,
it is kind of intimidating having a can of fuel in your hand and setting it on fire. And
it's real. But
it can't
back burn.
Yeah.
And it's really more controlled than you think. Like you see that much diesel and gas mixed up and you go to light a match, you're like, I don't know about this. But
I had never set that on fire like that.
But once you got it going and, it took more than you think to get the wick going. You would think that wick saturated like that, it would just ignite.
Oof, yeah.
And that diesel's real slow burning, It doesn't have a flash point like gas does. So it was controlled and it wasn't nothing to it. It burned and it done a good job.
No, you gotta burn what you're comfortable with. As you're going, you light it and let it burn, light it and let it burn until you get comfortable seeing how fast it's gonna move, what it's gonna do. That's the way I felt like we were doing that day. Because the wind did kind of gust up on us a few times, which kind of scared me, because if you get a good gust of wind and there wasn't no wind and it was burning slow, when that wind catches it, it's gone.
It's quick.
It'll move faster than you can walk.
You don't want to start out with a 30-acre food plot.
We're going to burn this 30 acres. Well, imagine those big fields they burn out west. They got some 1,000-acre fields. They burn like that every year. That's a big fire.
You have to have wind, though. Like
wind.
Yeah, we thought the wind might have been a little heavy the other day, but you have to have that to make it go. Like last year when we tried to burn, it was 0 wind. We were trying to be overly cautious, and you couldn't make it burn. So you definitely, it's definitely an art to it, that's for sure. These guys that do this every year, that's pretty neat. And I could see, me and Mikey were talking about this last week. Like it was pretty. We had good weather last week. Like it wasn't outrageously hot. We were in the 80s probably, but around that fire, it was hot. And I couldn't imagine doing, a 100-acre plot, how hot it would actually get.
Oh, they got all the hair on Mikey's arm.
Yeah, I got scorched a little bit. I see why they wear those fireproof jackets and stuff, but we were just burning a small field, and
it wasn't that much fuel on the ground. It was a little, but like you think, like if you was to burn those pines over on Salem, like you talking about some fuel, that would be a hot fire.
The crazy thing to me about it was all the rats.
You don't realize how many's out there.
Wow. Just in that.
It was hundreds, literally hundreds of field mice, field rats come running out.
What'd you say that movie was? What'd you say that movie was, Mikey?
Willard?
Willard, yeah. It was like Willard, man. That dude had all them rats.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Them joggers were smoking. Jamie, you put one out with the swatter.
I had to swat him out.
He was on fire running out there.
It was well done on the back end when he come running
I
out.
think we got a little bit of that on video, the rats running, I hope. I hadn't seen the footage yet. When we get that released.
It was funny watching the dog, Jamie's dog, standing there and all them rats running out and her just like, what is this?
Oh, one of them got her, didn't they?
Yeah, she was bleeding pretty good. One of them got her lip pretty good.
But I mean, you think there'd be little ones? No, there was some.
No, this
was borderline possums coming out there.
Yeah.
You could have shot it with a shotgun. It was rabbit size.
So imagine how many's in that big field. With the rest of that.
Yeah.
I would, no joke, like honestly guessing, I would say we're 100 rats per acre. Pretty easy.
100 rats per acre.
We got a biologist that'll come check your rat ratio.
Because there was, and they'd run up your bootleg. Like, they was coming right toward, which I get it. Like, they don't know what's going on. The world's on fire, they're getting out of there. But man,
I ain't never thought about it. The first time we went to our buddies and run thermal at night, you would see these red dots out in the field. I didn't know what it was. And that's all it was. It was hundreds of red, and that's all it was.
That was in between the rows.
Yeah.
You could see them running in the rows.
So yeah,
the only thing left after we burn it was fire ant mounds, and I was amazed at how many of those are on top of that hill
and how big they were undisturbed like that.
It didn't phase them. I guess they went down on the ground, and
the rats moved on. They got them a new subdivision, and hopefully we got rid of the fire ants. I doubt it, but hopefully we did.
But like I say, we've said it before. Burning sounds bad in your mind when you first say it, but
it's a reset.
I guarantee you it's going to be green out there today when we go look at it.
Oh yeah, it won't take it long. We hadn't had a rain yet to wash some of that.
As soon as it rains,
singe away, but
it'll be long to green up.
Well, what happens this wheat now? That's what we did after that. After we burn it, you can come back and sow wheat over it, and that's what'll green that field back up. You won't have to worry about weeds. The fall, the frost will kill those weeds anyway. But as soon as that wheat takes, what the animals, the birds don't eat, I guess, you'll have the prettiest wheat field. That's the way it was last year, and it's a constant rotation now. We don't have to worry about spending all that money buying sunflowers. What'd you say wheat was? I think in the last video I said something crazy.
I think you told them $90
It's 90 pounds to an acre is what we could plant, but it's $9 a bag. And so you're looking at, you could plant a lot of acreage for less than $100.
Sunflowers
10 acres of wheat.
$90 or more a bag, probably.
Yeah. Oh, sunflowers are crazy high.
So, you got, if you got a little 2 acre field that you do, just say it's 3 acre field. You're looking at putting, 300, well, you can say around 300 pounds of wheat on it. It'd be about 270. And, $9 a bag. That's
$27.
Yeah.
Can't beat that. And you don't have to spray it. You're not coming back with any chemicals over that. It doesn't hurt to fertilize it, I guess, but burning the field's going to put some nutrients back too, so you get some of that back.
Well, you look how good that field looked. What's that? 2 years of planting? Second year?
Yeah.
So it's pretty well established, and heck, I think after this year, as thick as it come in, like it might be one of them set it and forget it. You might do a little maintenance, but not like you would with sunflower
not
field.
Much.
Yeah. Well, the burning also, it puts nutrients to the ground and stuff like that, and that adds a lot of things there that you don't have to use like a lime or a fertilizer. Not saying you don't, but it's not. You don't have to. If you're burning, it's ashing that stuff up, and it's going to turn into fertilizer.
So we had another field it's probably about 2 acres too. The other field that we didn't have wheat in last year. It was just a field that we kind of let go after hunting season. And talk about what you did on it.
Yeah, so we prepped another little 2 acre dove field, on not far away from this other one, but we did it, and we actually done a video on it. But it's kind of an easy prep dove field too. You just run out there, a little bit of chemical to spray it, kill the grass out of it, till it up, or disc it up, disc your field up, and then just come back in and just throw 90 pounds per acre of wheat over the top of it, and
Got it right.
Do it, like I said, 10 to 14 days before. You can do it earlier than that, if you want to try to get those birds in there, earlier, but you're not really supposed to be hunting over it if you do it within that
10-day period.
Yeah.
10-day period. If you're on the 9th day, you're really not supposed to hunt it until 10 days. So,
well, that's because it's considered baiting, right? Mm-hmm. It's a baited field.
Yeah.
So you're saying 90 pounds an acre, that's legal for dove field, or is that?
That is legal for a dove field.
Mississippi.
Now, if you're going to plant, if we see like a naked spot in the field coming back after dove season, we're not dove hunting no more, and just say we go out there and the birds eat out a patch in the field or something like that where there wasn't much seed or it's real thin, I'll come back in, re-sow some wheat on that and let that pick back up. But
and probably fertilize it after so many days too. We're not going to fertilize before dove season.
It's good to put that fertilizer on the ground anyways. You put it down, if plants don't use it, it'll kind of hang in the ground for the next, when it does decide to, it may use that fertilizer in the spring.
So what would y'all say the size of a dove field? What does somebody need? What at least, or what do you think?
It depends on the amount of people you're wanting to hunt. If you want to attract birds, you can track birds on a 1 acre field. Just depends on where it's at too, though.
And the shape of the field is key.
There are places you can put dove fields, and it doesn't matter if you throw 1,000 pounds per acre out there. They may or may not come in there just because it's not someplace they're used to feeding at. First year dove field is always the hardest because you establish a new field that it's not imprinted on them. That's a place to come and feed. And so when you do that field, it's usually less birds that year than it is on like second, third, fourth year. But we've had fields 2-3 acres, and some of them as big as I've hunted over some that was as big as 20 acres.
Yeah, but you can make a 1 acre dove field and have a place to hunt for a few people.
Dove field, and if it's just you and one of your kids or something like that, or you and one other person that just want to sit out there, if it's in a good area and you do it year after year, you probably have at least one decent shoot.
Yeah.
Some of those bigger fields, they're going to stay in there, and you may have several good shoots off of those.
Well, I got a little information on actual doves. I had no idea. I just got to kind of doing some research, and there's over 400 million doves in the United States. Y'all know that?
400 million?
400 million. Every state has dove, and most states have a dove season. The only 2 that I found that didn't was New Hampshire and Vermont. I guess they're protected or something, but they migrate south every year to avoid the winter. But typically it's the young birds, the first year birds, and the females that actually migrate. The males stick around to kind of gather up better, or I guess they fight over better breeding ground. So they don't typically migrate. So what you're really seeing every year is the new birds, the ones that hatched out, they're flying, and then the females come down to feed.
But doves aren't. When I was a kid and teenager and early 20s, man, doves like almost the size of pigeons back then, but now they're all seem smaller bodied. I don't know if that retains back to so many younger birds now, I guess, or. Well,
it also says that any given year, over half of the dove population dies. Over half. Half the adults and 2/3 of the first year birds die out of that 400 million.
But that's not a result of hunters.
No, hunters take about 2 million. So if you're looking at, if there's 400 million birds, you're going to say 200 million of them are going to die. And only of that 200 million, only 2 million are killed by hunters. So it's a very small fraction. But predators and the weather kill more than anything.
So I think it's safe. There's a lot of first year birds flying down. It makes a lot of sense because if they don't leave a certain area in time to, get out before it gets too cold,
they're
or something
starve.
like that, they'll starve.
Yep. So that's why they're migrating. They're following the food. They need. The doves are first. They're going for a place to rest because they're flying. They're looking for water. They're looking for rocks for their crawl, and then they're looking for food. That's the cycle of them. And it's if you can find a place where there are birds and you make a dove field, you'll probably have them. But you gotta that's why the first year fields don't work so good, is because they're not used to coming there and they're migratory. So as they go back and come back, and it just kind of gets honed into them. This is a safe area where we got food, water, place to rest. Everything they need, you're going to have doves.
Man, the first year we put a dove field in, we spent a lot of money and time on that field and had it in the wrong place on the property for one. We stuck it down in the bottom, which we thought being a bigger field and having a lot of, more acreage would, help with the how many birds we'd have. And, we shot a few birds, not a bunch. But then we moved it up on top of the hill last year and had a lot better shoot.
Yeah.
So really that field was a first year field last year up on the hill. And we did decent. I mean, there was one week that I went out there right before dove season that there were several hundred birds on the field.
Yeah.
That's always the case. Dove season need to be moved up one weekend and everybody kill birds.
It always never fails. It's a hurricane, a cold front, or the farmers around you cutting corn the same week, a week before dove season, and it pretty much
draws all the birds.
And so you're not going to compete with that. Like, you're not going to compete with a 40 or 50 acre cornfield.
No, I mean, we got hundreds of acres of corn around us this year. And I mean, I talked to the guy down the street down here the other day about the four-wheelers, and he farms, and he was like, we're supposed to go cut 2,500 acres of corn this week. And I was like, daggone, dude, can you not wait about 2 weeks?
Yeah, y'all ain't looked at the game schedule
Take
yet?
all my birds. And, that may be where some of our birds went,
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of things that affect dove hunting.
It's usually a 1, 2, you might get 3 weekends out. That's the only bad thing. You got so much time in it. You get 1 or 2 good hunts.
To me, it really just kicks off hunting season. It gets you thinking fall, even though it's still going to be hot next week, Labor Day weekend, but it kind of kicks off hunting season where you start thinking about doing those fall food plots, go down to camp, everybody's together. Dove hunting's really, it's not about everybody wants to shoot birds, but really it's about the camaraderie going on.
You're gonna fire up the grill and you're gonna eat good regardless.
That's what we're gonna empty the freezer, cook a bunch of the food.
We had some good recipes last year for doves. What did we do? Dove bites.
Yeah, it was.
Stuck them on a skewer, and then some of them I wrapped in bacon with a little jalapeno. Just filleted those breasts off the bone.
They were just little bites. Yeah, the best ones to be were just the straight meat on the skewer that we just flash grilled.
That's probably the first time I ever heard of wickers was bacon wrap dove soaked in wickers.
It was good too.
Sure was.
You soak the bacon at all, or do you soak the dove and then wrap it in the bacon?
All.
We used to take what was that cooler? Like probably 100-quart cooler we'd have over there.
Yeah.
And everybody start dressing, and who knows what would be in that cooler, because it'd be dove. Somebody come by with Italian dressing. Somebody come by with some wickers. Somebody might have some Worcestershire. And just dumped it in there and let it sit. And then they start firing grills up.
That afternoon after the afternoon hunt, you could.
One of the most unique dove recipes I ever seen was I hunted with the Todds a couple of years. They always invited me over to hunt with them. And we went over there, and it was kind of the same way. I mean, I'd take Will over and let him shoot, but it was more about going back to camp cooking. Some of us broke off early and went back and started cooking. And we'd take some of those first doves, and we'd put them in a pressure cooker and just cook them until they come off the bone, like they were hash. And then we'd take those, pull them out, strain them, and we make this almost like a pancake batter. And we cut up onions, bell peppers, and take that pressure cooked dove, throw it in there, and they would make dove fritters out of them. And then they would just take them and put them in there like funnel cakes.
Yeah.
And you pulled them out and seasoned them with, Creole seasoning or something like that, and just pull them apart. And they had dove meat, onions,
like a
and peppers
recipe,
in the
in the batter almost.
In the batter.
Yeah. I think that sounds good.
Oh, it was pretty neat. I'd never seen that before. And Kevin Todd actually was one that did it. And I was like, darn, I've never seen nobody. That's a great idea. And he said they've been doing that for years.
Have you tried that yet?
I did it with him that day, but I hadn't done it myself at home.
Well, we can do some dove, some duck, some deer, some rabbit fritters. That just sounds like a whole good eat right there.
Wildlife fritters.
Squirrel fritters.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about on the way down here is, dove season as a kid was one of my most exciting weekends. And now, other than the eating and cooking, it's like you say, it's kicking off hunting season, but man, it's hot. And we were talking about that. It's a love-hate relationship. Like, you talk to guys that they are pumped about dove season. You talk to guys like, man, I care less.
Really?
It's usually hot. You fight mosquitoes. You're going to have ticks.
I get headaches.
Headaches.
I like that early morning, that first early morning. You have your little meeting. You go out there. The sun ain't come up, and you're getting, just that first thing about getting up early and getting out the field.
Somebody comes by with the biscuit and the cooler drinks.
And then you're done by time game day's coming on, because we got that, and that's another thing that gets excited to me. You got college football kicking off that weekend.
So just me, anybody else always, when a kid dove hunting, felt the pressure, like sun's coming up, first bird coming, you're the first guy that
you got to shoot.
You're going to miss
you miss.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but those are hard to hit now. They're not an easy bird to kill, at least not for me.
We used to always do a field at the house, and it was sun coming up and bird. I was the first one that shot. I dusted it. Went out there, looked at it. I threw it in my pouch. Man, that wasn't a dove. I just threw Tweety bird. I acted like it was a dove. I don't want to look dumb.
Got one.
I got
on the board.
It's usually some entertaining stories with dove season, though.
What's the most doves y'all ever killed at a hunt?
Oh, we can't talk about that.
Oh, it was an illegal one?
Oh, yeah.
The one between my house and Mark's house is about 6, maybe 7 acres total out there.
My house is in the middle of it.
And it was 2 years, 3 years in a row. I don't care if we had 4 people, if we had 14 people, everybody limited out by 7:30, 8 o'clock.
See, I'd like to be on one. I've never been on one of
We've
those
had some
hunts.
good hunts. Real good
It was a
hunts.
good field.
Well, we've been get a limit before, but not like everybody that was hunting get one.
I've gone and limited out 3 days in a row before several times.
That's a lot of birds.
What made that field good was we had that field right there, and then probably less than a quarter mile away, there was 2 more dove fields because Brittany would have one back there, then Island would have one down the hill. So you had 3, or really, if you're talking about Bridgeforth, I mean, they had a field within a half mile.
There was a lot of fields around
There was 4 or 5 fields within a 1 mile radius.
So ain't they keep the birds
You
moving?
just keep the birds moving. And-
Britt had the best ones, though.
Yeah.
Man, they had birds.
But that field's been planted 30 years,
Yeah.
probably. Like it was one of them deals like Mikey talked about. It was a reoccurring field, and they knew to come there.
It was probably a couple of years you wanted to hunt next to tree line, so you knew which way to run.
You had to go high sometimes.
It wasn't just necessarily a legal field. Have y'all ever been on one where people got tickets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been on one when
You got one?
No, I didn't stick around.
Oh,
I was in a hunting club, and this guy he's done a dove field, and he's always, I'm talking about like they always limited. I mean, it was tons of birds. Anyway, same thing. Cold front come through, kind of knocked them back. And me and my daughter Abby was out there. Sun come up, and I seen the ground. I told her, "Come on." We never fired a shot. We went back to the camper. Man, that field, it would look like Rice Krispies out there. It was so much wheat. And I'm like, we're not getting a ticket.
so you left? Did they get checked?
No, never got checked. They hunted it all weekend. I didn't go. I was done. I wasn't going back out.
One of the best hunts I've been on was actually we got invited to. It was over in Olive Branch, and it was in a gravel pit. So it was probably a 15, 20 acre gravel pit. They had sunflowers in, and they had wheat planted in rows between the sunflowers. So you had all the grain, you had all the sand and pea gravel for the doves. There was 4 or 5 power lines that run right through the middle of it.
And that field was known for thousands of birds getting shot. I mean, it was
The way he set the field up is everybody hunted up on top of the hill. That's where all the good shoots were. So you would just stage them. You'd have your first 10 hunters on top of the hill. They would limit out, and then hunters down the hill, we just move up. And it was like a conveyor line. And by 7 or 8 o'clock, we were done. I mean, it was everybody's got their limits.
We hunted a field one year. It was 20 of us on it. We killed 600 birds that morning. You do the math.
That was before they set limits.
Yeah, that was pre-game
Long time
days.
ago.
Yeah, came back that evening and killed Mike near the same
That's
amount.
like one of those Argentinian dove hunts where they burn the barrels up.
There's people running to town getting shells. I mean, they didn't realize what kind of field they had gotten on. And
I've never been on one of those.
I've been on several good bird hunts.
I just don't. I mean, where we are, you don't hear hunts like that much anymore.
Not anymore. You don't.
You got to go out to Texas or somewhere where they got.
Well, again, it goes back like we talked about duck hunting. 20 years ago, it was not near the many duck holes in the Delta as it is now. So you got so many more places. The same thing now. There's so many more people involved in hunting. You got more crop on the ground. You got more dove fields, and more people are getting involved in hunting. So therefore, they have more options. And we always battle weather too, just like y'all were saying, a cool front. I mean, you watch, it'll be a cool front next week come through. It never fails.
I hope you're right. It needs to cool down some.
I do too, but I needed to cool off.
If it's 100 degrees opening day.
How many hurricanes they got in the Gulf right now? Or they're talking about, what is 3?
I don't know if any of them's going to hit by next week. But.
Well, I'll be in Florida next week, so I hope it cools off.
Oh, yeah, you're not going to be here dove. You're not going to be here dove season, are you?
Hurricane season, yeah.
You're going to be down there looking at the rat.
That's right.
That'll
be fun.
Yeah.
I'm going one way.
Mickey.
Jamie's going the other.
Yeah, I guess it'll be me and Mikey holding down the kids and dove fields, huh?
I'll do just save some dove fritters when we get back.
Save some. We'll have to.
Yeah.
Jamie, we checked in with Darren over at the island in the hog trapping. What he been up to?
Man, he's asked me to go several times. Every time I get asked to go, I got something going on, can't go. But man, that place is 10,000 acres roughly that pretty much done got infested with hogs. And man, they I don't know if you can kill them out. I really don't. But yeah, they finally done some traps this year, and the traps have definitely paid off. He said this. I think they're what he said, 109 hogs this year.
Yeah,
with the trap.
Since they've got, and I looked at trap. It was called a pig brig trap system. You can go to
BRIG, right?
Yeah. It's pigbrig with a B.com. You can buy this trap. It just looks like T-post and a net.
Yeah.
That's all it looks like.
No mechanical stuff involved, no internet service, no watching cameras and setting it off. It pretty much, it does it for you.
Yeah. What they do, you set these T-posts up in a circle, and the net attaches to those, and it hangs down. Well, you pin it up, because it kind of runs in on itself, creates a funnel.
Yeah.
And then you pin up the inside and you bait it up. And those hogs get used to walking underneath this net to get to that corn or whatever you throw out for them. And then when you get ready, once you know you've got a bunch that's been frequenting it, you go out there and you unpin that net and it just drapes down on the ground. Well, they're used to going under it, so they push right up under this net system, and there's no way to get out. Like once they get in there, the net's on the ground. They can't get back under it to get out.
From what he explained to me, once they get in, they're actually standing on the net.
Yeah.
So for them to get in, they got to root under it, and they done got in the habit of going. Like I said, I didn't ask him, but I'm assuming you're not going to set the net out today and set the trap off.
No,
tomorrow.
it probably take a week.
It takes the hogs got to get a routine of going there and eating, and once they figure out they got to root under, they'll root under the net to get to the food, but they're actually standing on the net once they get inside it, so they can't root back out.
Yeah. And
I think he said they've had 23 at one time in the net that they killed.
That's got to be a tough net.
Well,
it's got what they call what is it?
It's a double net system. So it has like an outer, almost like Kevlar is the outer net, and the inner layer net's just a finer mesh net.
Real light.
Yeah.
And it's some kind of like bore guard shield that keeps them tearing the top of the net up, what I understand. But they're probably around $3,000. They're not
it
cheap.
is. That's exactly what I'm looking at.
But there's no mechanical, nothing involved in it. You just got to go over and kill the hogs out.
There's some videos on YouTube. I've started watching some of them just to check it out. It's pretty cool.
He said so far, as many years he's been out, that's been the most efficient method they've come up with versus trapping or hog
bringing some other dog.
Yeah, because hog hunting, that's a lot of work. You're not going to kill. I wouldn't think you'd kill 3 or 4 hogs, at one time. Your dog's only catching 1 hog at a time. But
so you was caretaker over there. It's been some years ago. How many hogs do you think was on that club back then? You would
literally see anywhere from 2 to 40 or 50 in one group. It would be crazy. You could plant a field over there today and come back in the morning and the whole field's rooted up. I'm talking about like knee deep spots in the field where they'd rooted up. And Darren actually said this past year, the hogs got so smart when they would plant, they would figure out that plant row and root down that whole straight line down that plant row and just root the seeds up. The day after you planted them. Now, hogs are not dumb by no means.
So do you think after killing 109 of them that it made a dent?
Had to some. But think about it, one hog might have, 8, 10, 12?
Bunch.
Piglets,
have as
whatever.
many as 16 to, I think.
So just say it has 10. Well, them 10, if it's half and half, heck, you got 100 right there just off that one. It don't take long for it to add up.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling you, LSU, I was reading a thing where they went through the process. They have patented a poison for hogs that is dedicated just for hogs. They claim there's no harm to other wildlife or nothing to do with the environment. It's like a gummy bear, basically. They just throw out, and it'll glow with the black light so you can see it, but it hasn't went through, I guess, the environmental protection agency. They got to approve it too. But they said Louisiana, what'd I tell you?
90
million?
Yeah.
And damages a year, agriculture damages what that state sees from hogs.
Yeah, you don't realize how fast they can populate. You see 1 or 2 and think, let's go. There's a couple of hogs out here. In 3 years, they can just decimate hundreds of acres of fields just off them couple of hogs.
And they have.
Because they'll reproduce so fast.
What is it, a hog? They have more than 1 litter a year too, don't they? It's not like a deer where it's just one time.
Yeah, I think they can have 2. I remember right.
Let's see.
No, I get used to. When I was a kid, we never heard anything about.
We didn't either.
Hog, and they was if you did, it was further down South Mississippi or definitely across the river levee. And now they're across the levee now. We're 15 miles from Tunica right here, and they're in Tunica now.
Yeah, down on their duck holes, Miles of them, they kill them with the thermals, don't they, Mark? And how they kill
they
them?
use thermals,
Yeah. But they do a lot of crop damage to his. I mean, it's the same thing.
I mean, he's got, I don't know how many thousand acres they actually farm now, but I mean, they've killed several hundred in the last 2 years out there. And he says you don't even phase them. He says out there, because they're running up and down the river. So what you might have now might be 10 miles down the river in a couple of weeks. So you're not ever like,
no, they're not dedicated.
Yeah.
To one
like
location.
I'm going to get this group of them out of here. Like, heck, you get them out tomorrow and you group's there. So
even the Hardin Point, when I was over there, you'd see like a certain area, you'd be planting food plots. You might see hogs in it that day. And then next day you might not see nothing. You might not see them again there for several weeks, but they're not.
So they're covering a lot of ground.
Oh yeah. They're definitely, because they're always, I don't know if I guess they're going from food source, or they're running from predators, or they just travel around that much. I really don't know how a hog.
I imagine this. I mean, most of their migration patterns are probably mainly off of freaking food. I mean,
It's got to be.
because I mean they can decimate a 50-acre field in one night. Enough of them can. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's nothing left for them to eat there, so they're gonna move over to the next neighbor and just keep moving down the, whatever they're traveling on, rivers, or if it's big forest or something like that. Mostly they're around rivers and stuff. 'Cause I know when we hunt over at the WMA over in what is that? I don't even remember the name. Over by camp.
I know
Holly Springs?
Holly Springs
Yeah,
over
but
there.
like-
That was the
Holly
first
Springs
place I ever-
National
Huh?
Bagley Bottoms.
Bagley
T7
Bottom, but it's
and
also-
T8 and all them roads,
T roads over there. That was the first place I ever run up on. Seen hogs.
I mean,
and those
you would-
game boards that planted on them fields, and I had a camera on them and came back, and they had just wiped them food plots out. There was
that
nothing
place
left.
was, we walked back there and you would be hundreds of yards away, and I guess hog wallow or whatever you want to call it, you could smell them way before you got to the food plots. But they pretty
in
bad
the
over there.
roads. I mean, it'd be monstrous hog walls in the roads over there and stuff.
Was it just in the forest, or was that in River Bottom where y'all were?
It was
over
a
there?
river
actually
out there, but
yeah,
It's like
kind of
Tallahatchie River,
right on the edge.
Yeah,
Is old Graham Lake area. I mean, it was actually up on the hills. I mean, it was up off the levee.
Yeah, it wasn't like river bottom. It was a river that ran through there, but
Yeah.
they were in the hills all around.
They were in the hills,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
all hardwood, so it was tons of acorns everywhere. And then the government would come in and plant these food. I don't even know if they still do the food plots or not, but at that time they had food plots in there, and they would just, I'm talking about, as soon as they hit the ground, them hogs in there that day, they was mowing it down.
So it says right here that average is 2 litters per year, averaging 8 young per litter, up to 13 per litter. So you say average, that's
say 8.
16 a year from one female.
All right, so then and they probably they can probably
Like I said,
breed.
half
And,
of them, 8 of them are female. So you multiply that by 16. That's
It
96.
don't take long.
yeah,
Rabbits ain't got nothing on them.
no,
Oh, that's 116.
off
That's
one,
right.
Off
Off
one sow. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable the damage they do.
So now I've had wild hog, but now there's so much disease and bacteria and the worm and all that stuff that hogs have. I don't know if that many people are eating hogs, or for just certain areas that disease is at.
I've heard about it, and I don't know. It's almost like a human version of getting heartworms that you can get. It's some kind of parasite
cure,
that's
no
in
nothing.
the meat. Yeah,
You got
well,
it.
it enters your bloodstream. I think that's why a lot of people don't want to process them. Or I first heard about it from these guys over in Oklahoma that did a lot of wild game processing. They said they got to where they wouldn't touch hogs because it was so dangerous to the guys.
Contaminating
Yeah, it's not that the meat itself, like when you cook the meat, it's fine, but it's the act of actually working on it and introducing some of that animal's blood into your blood or a human's bloodstream. If it crosses the blood barrier, chances are you're going to get infected with it, and there's no cure for it. It's like it will cause heart failure eventually.
You think about how many times you cut your finger or done something while you were cleaning a deer. If that animal had that parasite or whatever, and you cut your finger, I mean, there's an opportunity for you to get it right there.
Do you think you nicking yourself on a bone? How many times have you done that?
Oh,
Cleaning
something
something.
like that.
Yeah.
You can go into cleaning one and don't have gloves on, and
Yeah.
got something, an open wound on a finger or something. I mean, hell,
Hey,
all
look-
of us have worked with our hands, have blisters or anything like that
Whatever,
on your
yeah.
hands, and
It could be anything.
Need to look into it. I had never researched. I mean, I know the guys over there with the hogs they caught and killed, they kept and cooked. But I mean, I don't know.
A lot of people do. I mean, I've heard a lot of people eat them, and I mean, I've ate some wild boar. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
I wouldn't
is.
say it's as good as domestic pork, but it's decent, you know. But I mean, I wouldn't
ain't
want to
worth the
dress
risk.
one. I wouldn't want to dress one not knowing, you know, not without proper
I
protective
definitely
gear and
have my
stuff.
PPE on.
Yeah, for sure. You want to take a chance. I mean,
We're just lucky they ain't made it this far yet.
yeah, I mean, they're within 15 miles of us, and they've never seen any over. And that was another question I kind of had was, you know, what determines where they're going to be if they're spread so much, and you can't hardly kill them out. I mean, what stops them
Rivers.
from just being everywhere?
Rivers. They stay close to the rivers. My understanding.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you look like miles of land, cold water runs right down the middle of it. And then over on the island, you got the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
Well, over there in Marshall County, I know they follow the rivers over there. Then Tallahatchie County down the Delta from here, south of here, they have a ton of hogs, but you don't see them like up in the. I call this the hills where we are. We're kind of on the edge of the hills, but we don't. I mean, I guess there's just not the food source for them. Is it, I mean,
That, and you know, maybe some is just not the being able to travel like they can on the rivers and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Might be
it's-
more people housing population here
Yeah,
versus when
yeah.
you get down there. There's nothing. There's nothing to keep them from traveling down there. It's just open fields.
I hope they never come this way. We got creeks right here. We ain't got rivers, but
I mean, I talked to a guy that his daughter plays softball, and they live in Ackerman, Mississippi, and he said he's got hog dogs, and he said, man, used to they'd have to travel 2 or 3 hours to go hog hunting. He said now they're in Ackerman. He said he can go within a couple of miles of his house now and hog hunt if he wanted.
well, it's like Michael's place over there outside of. It's in Marshall County.
It's in Holly Springs, and they're not. I don't know why they're not as. I mean, he sees them, but they're not as densely populated as what they are like down the Delta. I don't know if it's because there's not as much agriculture out there. It's mostly just pine trees, but I don't know. I ain't never thought
They're
about
on
it.
the food source, probably
Yeah.
wherever they're at.
But if you don't do something with them when you first see them,
Hang it up.
Oh, by the time you see them, it's too late, I think.
Probably.
they'll ruin your deer hunting. I mean, if they got here, we can stop planting. we
fight
can't plant
cows bad
nothing.
enough.
Yeah, cows.
You
You can
never
give
beat
it
'em.
up, and it'll ruin your deer hunting. You know, everything that you work for to manage the property. When they get on it, man, it's a struggle from there. I mean, Darren and them trying to manage down there on the river, and you know, you
So-
plant a 50-acre field and they wipe it out in the night. That gone.
So what does it do? Like if you've got hogs and deer, they exist together, same
Yeah.
kind of terrain or whatever habitat. What does it do to your deer hunting other than your food plots? So have y'all seen?
I mean, I would think it's got to affect where deer might stay or bed or their main living areas. If the hogs move in, you would think the deer would have to get out. I don't know. I mean, we've rabbit hunted over there a lot, and we've walked down hog knowing it was hog trails rabbit hunting. I've smelt them, but I've never actually seen a hog while we was rabbit hunting. But
I mean, you look at what we got down here. We planted a grow in the wall with, it's still got vetch and stuff mixed in with it. So it's food there. So you think all those bedding areas, those hogs are going to trample all that down
Yeah.
Yeah,
in
they
no
walk it
time.
all-
So
they
you're going to
walk it
lose
all
bedding
down.
areas. You're going to lose, food sources for your deer, a lot of other
So they're
things.
going to leave to go to food, basically. Yeah. Well, what is it? Have y'all been hunting and seen deer and hogs, same field or same woods at the same
I
time?
heard they don't like one another, but
I don't know.
I hadn't.
I know Darren and them kill hogs while they're deer hunting. But as far as, I guess over there, yeah, you probably do see, very
You'd have
likely you
to.
could see deer and hogs the same day, same stand. You'd have to.
So when I was in Texas last year, there was hogs and deer at the same time, except they would, like if the hogs came in, you guaranteed it was going to run the deer off.
Yeah.
But they weren't to stay. Now they'd come back,
Are they the same
but
hog as what we have here? Or?
I mean, they're just-
Javelinas
A lot of
there.
them.
no, they weren't javelinas. These were wild. These were just wild boar or wild hogs. Yeah, they weren't. I didn't see any javelinas. Javelinas kind of a smaller
They're
animal.
smaller, kind of hairier.
But these were just, I don't know. I mean, so there's different kinds of, well, I mean, a lot of ours that we see are probably they were a domestic or they got a lot of domestic hog in them to start. They're not like full blown Russian wild boar.
like what's over there.
Yeah, yeah. But they're, I mean, so it's kind of a mixture, and that's what they look like. The ones in Texas, to me, look more like a domestic pig. I mean, they still had that wild boar nose, how they flatten out, but I think they just do that from being in the wild. They kind of change their structure. But the shape of the pig looked more like a farmer's pig.
Yeah.
They didn't have that wild boar look to them. Like this one on the wall up here. I mean, that looks like it's got a lot of that Eurasian boar or whatever they call it, Russian.
That's a
but it's
dinosaur right there.
but it looks. I mean, it's got that look. These didn't look like that. They still had that regular hog shape, and that's kind of the ones I've seen Darren send pictures of on the island. It doesn't look like what you think of a wild boar looks like. It looks more like a domestic pig. It's just wild.
Yeah. A light color, like almost white looking. I've seen completely black, and I've seen brownish ones over there, reddish looking.
Yeah.
But they're pretty hairy, most of them. I don't know if there's, like the one you got up here, I don't know if they're not quite that hairy, but
that one there's rough.
He's a rough looking one, yeah.
Old Frank.
I'd hate to run up on him. I've seen them. The only place I've ever seen them was in Pontotoc, Mississippi. We were deer hunting, and they come across the field. It sounded like a train coming across. There were so many hogs. And that's been 20 years ago. It's been a long time. But it was on government land, too.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. A lot of people, I guess if they're deer hunting, they scare. I'm the same way. If a coyote comes out, I'm killing it versus a deer.
Oh, yeah, all day long.
A lot of people, I don't know if they don't kill them or they don't know to kill them or what. They just, I don't know, but they do.
And that may be a lot of it too is just uneducated, because we're not educated on them that much. I mean, a little bit, but I guarantee if they got here, we would be. But
yeah, you'd have to.
Yeah, once they get on your place, if all your neighbors are not doing what you're doing and trying to knock them out and keep them away, then you're pretty much fighting a losing battle, killing 4 or 5 on your property.
One of the biggest things, like hunting clubs, most of them, unless you're there every weekend, they could move in on you and you not notice it till fall, and it's too late.
Yeah. So, I guess game cameras would be a good way to find out if you got them. If you start seeing them on camera, you better start.
Oh, if you're doing cameras or supplement feeding or mineral feeding or something like that, yeah, it ain't going to take no time. You're going to know if you got hogs.
Well, they'll definitely go to a feeder. I think that's where most people see them, around a feeder. But
Randy and them, they've got them on their club, and he says it never fails. Like you can hunt all day long, and they cannot ever kill a hog during the daytime. That they had, usually he'll go and he'll sit at night in the deer stands and just sit up there and play on his phone and just shine the field and see, wait on them to come in there. But
so they don't move during the day, they stay bedded down.
He said they don't hardly ever see them during the day, like at all.
Yeah.
And he said, but at night, you liable to be hunting over a green field that they planted and come back the next day and it's all gone.
Mm-hmm.
So when those guys would come over to the island and run dogs, did they only do that at night?
No, we do it.
They'd run them during the day too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Most of the time I've seen them, it's always been nighttime, the shows you see.
Yeah, even when I was over there working, you'd be on the tractor and you'd see them. It didn't matter what time. It could be early in the morning.
They're moving, eating all day. It didn't matter. They weren't just laid up.
If you had a gun with you on the tractor, you would not see it. If you brought a gun, you would not see a deer. If you didn't have a gun, a hog, you're gonna see a hog. The thing's pretty brutal.
Hopefully, we'd never get them here, but it's inevitable. They're gonna be. Things keep going the same way. They'll be everywhere.
Well, I'll tell you, if any of the neighbors around here got hogs and they accidentally get out, they better let somebody know pretty quick because we see them, they're gone.
You keep your potbelly pigs.
We ain't got wild cows.
Yeah, no, we got wild cows.
Yeah, we do got wild cows. That's our problem.
I'm finna give them some polka dots. Paintball gun. Finna label some of them.
I tell you what, we have got 2 cows that are
that one black one and one
spider
white face
cows,
one.
man. They know how to get in over a fence. I don't know what it is, but that's the only 2.
Yeah.
They consistently keep coming in here.
And they like getting in front of the camera.
Oh, yeah. They rub it up against it.
Knocking it over.
And I don't know what it is about that spot right there. That's where they always hang out.
That's where they're crossing the fence at.
They're coming right up along
Come out
that
of that
line.
ditch, they ain't got to go far. They got shade, water, and food right there. They ain't got to go
right
far.
there.
It's nicer than their side.
Well, if we start releasing a bunch of steak recipes this year, you know where it comes from.
What do you do with fresh cow?
We need something to mix with some of that deer meat.
This
a
one
good
of
little
black
blend.
Angus whitetails here.
Yeah, that
Hurry
Angus.
up, get the cooler in then.
Get that Angus whitetail blend going.
Yeah, all right.
How does that?
80-20.
How do you go about anybody's property when you run into issue with that, with livestock or horse, whatever it is? Naturally you want to be nice to your neighbor, and neighbor want to be, you want to keep a relationship with them, but when you,
you can't play that broken record, but so many times.
Yeah.
Before you run out of patience.
You can't kill the animal.
No, I'm
You'll be in trouble. But they say that you can charge them $15 per day per head if they get on your place. But the bad thing is like with us, we're
doing way
we're
more
not
damage
farming
than
for
that.
a cash crop. We're farming to feed the animal and the deer. So if they come in and eat everything up that we had for the deer, that really don't help us none.
Because you run in the same thing with, I mean, we had it over there for a while with the dog chasing. I mean, I don't know how you can't really control it, but you can have a stray dog get out and run a deer, chase a deer, or whatever, mess it.
I don't know how many times I've been sitting in a stand and neighbor dogs come running by.
I mean, the same thing. My dog got out and chased deer. I wouldn't want nobody killing my dog neither, but it's.
It ain't the dog's fault.
No,
Dog's doing what it was genetically born to do, but you got
This is the cow's
keep
fault.
up with your dogs.
Cows genetically born to eat.
I don't know if there's a fence to keep these cows in. You need like a buffalo fence.
We need to just buy them. I mean,
Buy the cows?
Buy the cows, because then we
That
got
way-
Put $15 a day for the last few. How much is a cow?
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably pretty much.
we
own
put the cows
cow
out
now.
there. Then we got to put grain out for them.
Yeah, that's
we'll have the
livestock,
feeders
so we're not
Feed the
baiting the
cows.
field. Yeah, we got livestock.
Yeah, that's true.
And as good as they're eating, they got to be marbled by now.
I thought about letting the
They're
fence-
free range for sure. They've been eating vetch and buckwheat.
I thought about changing strategies on them because the neighbors to the north of us, they keep their fences up, keep their cows in. The guy to the south of us has a little bit of trouble. And that's where the cows are coming from. I thought about like not cutting the fence, but taking the fence post down, dropping the fence on the north side, running the cows over in their pasture, and then putting the
Put it
fence
back
back
up.
up. They take care of their cows. They probably happy to have two extra.
Yeah.
That might not be a bad idea.
I don't know if you could push them over to that
I don't
side.
know. They know where they're supposed to go back.
They
to.
know exactly where they're. You get in behind
Me
them.
and Mikey pulled up on them the other day, and they just looked at us and walked right where they're supposed to and went back on their side.
It's like, all right, it's time for me to go home.
Last year I come down here and they would been in that clover field. Them son's stomach was hurting. Man, every one of them cows, them son had the scours. Them son, they were bad off.
Oh, when we first put the sod in here, they were in the yard eating the sod up.
Off at the porch.
I took a picture. I should have videoed that. Y'all laid that sod and that big old cow standing up here. She had that big old square of sod.
The
just-
hole.
yeah.
Like, it ain't even
Chewing
had time
on
to
it.
root
Stepped
yet.
on my downspouts up against. They were up against the house.
Living
Not
there.
yeah, just up under the tractor shed out there, just hanging out.
They
Living
got it
up.
made.
Yeah,
They went to the resort. They was on vacation.
that's it. Much better grass to eat. This sure got their stomachs though, man.
Yeah,
They left
man.
a mess from here back to the fence.
Fertilizer.
I don't know how far it was. It's probably a mile back there. There was cow shit everywhere.
Oh, as soon as Mikey stepped out side by side the other day, right in a pile of it.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Oh, it was fresh. I didn't see it had got on my boots. I kept telling Mark, man, it stinks in here.
It
And
was on you.
it done squished out all the way around, almost on the toe of my boot.
Oh, man.
Doggone it.
Malcolm went back at the house.
Oh, ain't nothing you can do about it. I guess it's fertilizer. Maybe that'll make it
Fertilizer is
grow.
pretty expensive. We should weigh that out, leaving the cows out here crapping all over everything.
Yeah.
Not having to buy fertilizer.
Well, I mean, that goes back. Maybe we got the cow system going. The buffalo system didn't quite work out. We got the cow system.
We got the cow system.
Let them come in,
now.
trample the plots real good, put some fertilizer out for you, then put them back. That is a thing. People do that up north. We ain't
Yeah.
fighting the weeds as bad. They graze their animals on part of their fields and let them do that, trample it.
They just won't eat sweet gum trees, though.
Yeah, if you could get a goat would probably. Had to get the goat business mark for that, but
Still learning. Still
learning. Well, we got one more week. We'll probably be back next week, and dove season will be right after that. So we got to.
Yeah.
We don't know. We might come up with some recipes or something next week, or talk about what we're going to do next week. Y'all are going to be Mark. You're going cooking, aren't you?
I'm going to go to Indiana, go cooking. I'm going to take my shotgun because, again, I will be in a cornfield. I might have to get me a 3-day Indiana license.
There you go. That probably ain't too bad. Jamie, you probably no need to take them one where you're going.
Yeah, gun.
Don't
Yeah,
shoot
might need
pigeons
to.
down there at Disney World.
I might frown on that.
Sure, there's plenty of pigeons down there. They'll probably ban you for life.
You probably won't get asked back, I bet.
But that's what we're getting ready for. Anything else y'all want to talk about before we get out of here today?
No.
We got her, did we? Well, Mark,
Yeah.
take us out.
Well, we sure appreciate y'all listening. Like I say, if y'all got questions, make sure to shoot us a message. If y'all got topic ideas or something you want us to cover, hey, we're always open to new ideas. Y'all check us out on buckjunkies.com. And as always, check out the podcast YouTube. And that's
Subscribe
it.
to the channel.
That's it.
We'll see y'all next time. We gone.